This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Hello, everyone. My name is Kathleen Nash, and I am Reference and Adult Services Librarian here at the Ewing branch. And I want to thank you all for joining us on this beautiful evening. Tonight, I'm very pleased to introduce Abigail Nash Shattuck, who will talk about bullet journaling. Abigail is coming to us from Philadelphia, where she is a human resources professional and has been keeping bullet journals for more than 8 years. As the library system is recognizing May as Mental Health Awareness Month, I think Abigail is going to describe for us all the ways that keeping a bullet journal can help us ease anxiety and promote well-being by keeping our very busy and complicated lives on track. So over to you, Abigail.
Great. Thank you so much, Kathleen and Laura, for getting us set up tonight, and good evening, everyone. I'm so glad that you're joining me to discover bullet journaling. This has been a passion of mine for many years, and I'm excited to walk you through the system and share some real life examples from my personal bullet journals over the years. So for our program overview for this evening, we're going to go over what is bullet journaling, why do we bullet journal, we'll go over some supplies that you may need, key concepts, ideas, and examples of bullet journaling. We'll also have some best practices and some resources going beyond today's program if you choose to bullet journal in your own life. It does look like we're going to have a little bit of time for question and answer at the end. So if you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. So what is bullet journaling? It's known as the bullet journal method, bullet journaling, Bojo or Bujo, depending on your pronunciation. And this method was created by Ryder Carroll in the mid-2000s. When he was a child, Ryder was diagnosed with ADD, and he created this method to help him stay more organized and focused. This method is a combination of a planner, a diary, a notebook, a to-do list, and a sketchbook all in one. This method gained popularity in the early 2010s. Ryder started sharing with people that he worked with or interacted with on a day-to-day basis, and it really picked up speed. There was some articles written about it. And as of last month, there was over 9 million posts on Instagram using the tag #BulletJournal. This method combines productivity, mindfulness, and intention. It helps us identify and focus on what's meaningful and important and strips away what is meaningless. This method is very flexible and customizable to your day-to-day life. If you're a student, if you're a parent, if you're a professional, you can find and apply the bullet journal method to your life. So why do we bullet journal? From a productivity standpoint, we live in a digital age and we have information overload. The bullet journal system prevents digital distractions. When you're looking at your notebook, you're never going to get an ad, a sponsored ad from what you were recently shopping for. It helps us just automatically unplug. From a mindfulness standpoint, there is so much more focus and intention that happens when we actually put a pen or pencil to paper and write out, our goals, our thoughts, our feelings. It keeps us mindful of what we're doing and why we're doing it. And intention. I don't know about anybody else, but when my life gets crazy, I'm following the path of least resistance, even if that means I may not be taking care of the things that I truly care about. By writing something down, by making a goal, by working towards those goals, I'm able to be more intentional about how I'm using my time. Again, the bullet journal is flexible and customizable to your life. For myself, I know for many years I would panic shop in December to try to find the perfect planner for January 1 to start out the year with a planner that's going to keep me finally organized and help me set all my goals. And then throughout the year, my life changes. Maybe I get a new work schedule. maybe I have different goals, or I go through a major life event like getting married or having children, and that planner no longer works for me. That's something that I struggled with for many years before finding this method. And implementing the bullet journal method lets me pick up, a new journal at any time during the year and start building out my short-term and long-term goals. So, supplies for bullet journaling. The only two items that are required to bullet journal is a notebook and a writing utensil. This can be any notebook, spiral, bound, big, small, any pen, pencil, marker that you would like to use as your writing utensil. However, you may be interested in using some additional items such as post-it notes or tabs, highlighters and markers, ruler, stickers, or washi tape. These supplies are definitely not a requirement for bullet journaling, and you do not need to spend a lot of money on this practice. I will say, with the popularity in bullet journaling, there are some journals out there that have some of this set up already, or they claim to be the official bullet journal notebook, and because of that, the price may be a little bit more. But you can easily apply this method to a $1 composition notebook. I also want to mention, as Kathleen had kind of started off our program, that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so some of the examples that you'll see from my bullet journals use these supplies, as well as if you go on social media, you're going to find a lot of beautiful examples. Somebody may even say the perfect bullet journal. I just want to remind everyone that everything you see on social media is not real. Your bullet journal does not have to have straight lines. It doesn't have to have perfect handwriting. A lot of the examples that you'll see online are from accounts dedicated to bullet journaling, and they create posts that aren't from their normal day-to-day journal. The examples that you'll see today are from my own bullet journals that I use daily, that I throw into my purse, that I spill coffee on, and all of that is absolutely okay. The only definition of a perfect bullet journal is one that works for you as the individual and allows you to achieve your short and long-term goals and keep you focused and organized. So in general, the bullet journal method is built of these key concepts, and we'll be going in depth into these key concepts in the following slides. When Ryder Carroll was first setting up his bullet journal website and working on tutorials, he basically had to create his own language to help people understand and learn this method. So you'll find these terms and concepts not only in today's program, but in other resources about bullet journaling. As we move through the examples and these concepts that I'm going to show you, I just urge you to ask yourself, would this benefit me? It is very easy to see an idea and think you may want to use it, but if it's not something that you do regularly, or if it's not something that supports your goals, then you absolutely do not have to use it. Give me one moment while I switch to the next page. And then before we dive into these key concepts, I just want to discuss the index and page numbers. So the first 2 or 4 pages of your notebook should be reserved for your index. This will help you locate your content as you move through your bullet journal. We're going to go a little bit more in depth the index later, but please keep that in mind. Following your index pages, each page in your notebook should be numbered with a page number at the top or the bottom corner. Some notebooks may already come to you with a built-in index or page numbers, but if they don't, you can add them in yourselves. The page numbers you'll hear a lot because they are going to be very important to help you locate your content as you move throughout your bullet journal. All right, so our first key concept is the future log, which is used to store future tasks and events that fall outside your current month. You can divide the future log page into sections. It'll be one section for each month, and that's where you can add future events and tasks such as birthdays, appointments, vacations. I've even used my future log when I have a new TV show or movie coming out. This gives me one centralized place to capture everything in the future so I don't waste my valuable mental energy on things that are not right in front of me. When it comes to setting up, the next current month, I can refer back to my future log and see everything that I have listed there to plan for that month. Some things may not be relevant anymore by the time you get to that month. They could be canceled or rescheduled, and in that case, you just don't need to add them to your monthly log. Here are some additional future log examples. So as you can see in the top two photos are one option. So each month has its own section and calendar. And then I make a list of everything that I need to either remember or plan for that month. I personally like to have a mini calendar to view days and months of the days and dates of the month, but that's certainly not required. The bottom two photos are a similar setup, but I've added a linear calendar towards the center of the page. I am a visual learner, and so I like to be able to see a quick glance of if I have something already planned for that day, so that I don't have any collisions if somebody asks me for an additional plan or there's something else I need to remember on that day. All right, so next we're going to get into the monthly log, and this provides an overview of events and tasks for the current month. A few days before the new month, I'll flip to the next blank page that I have in my notebook. I'll number those pages, and then I'll set up a monthly view as I see fit. You can then begin to what we call migrate, which is when you take the plans that you already have on your future log and you add them into your current month. Again, for these examples, you don't need to add a calendar view. You can number each line 1 through 30 or 1 through 31 to indicate the dates of the month. You'll see here highlighted that for this particular setup, I had a day for each. I had a day listed for each day of the month, and then I highlighted the Saturdays and Sundays just so I could know when the weekend was. Another option is to set up a calendar view that you may be more familiar with standard planners. In this example, there's also some space on the left-hand side for me to put a task list that I need to complete for that month or a monthly goal. You may also see in my examples my weeks start on Mondays. I have, a Monday through Friday job, so having the week start on a Monday just makes sense to me. But this is another option of why this is so customizable. If you want your week to start on a Sunday, you can set up your monthly log for that. I know people who also have, non-traditional 9-to-5 jobs, and so they'll start their calendar on maybe a Thursday, which is the beginning of their work week. Next, we'll go into our weekly log. Now, some bullet journalers have added a weekly log, which provides you for an overview of the current week. If you're used to more of those weekly planners and that's something that you feel comfortable in. These are some of the weekly logs that I've created previously. And as you can see, I was using them for more of kind of memory keeping. So I taped in ticket stubs, stickers, receipts that I may have. I've also done photos of things that happened during that week. So it's the same practice. The day before your week starts, you can flip to the next blank page, you can number it, and you can set up your week. I will say that currently I don't use a weekly log. I find that I can manage my priorities and tasks within the monthly log, and I don't really need a more in-depth view week to week. But if I do have an upcoming particularly busy week, then I can easily add a weekly log for that week to help me manage my time and my priorities. Next, we're going to talk about bullets and signifiers. Now, as you can see, the bullet is really where the bullet journal method gets its name from. So these bullets and these symbols are used to help quickly capture, categorize, and prioritize your thoughts into notes, events, and tasks. The example that you see here is probably one of the more standard definitions of bullets, but again, you can customize it and see what works for you. So going into the bullets, for events or appointments, so this is something I know that I'm going to need to attend. I usually use a box, and when I have gone to that event or completed that appointment, I will check it off or put an X in it just to show, all right, you did this and now it's done. From a task, so if I ever have, an action item, a task, something that I need to do, I will just use a standard bullet point to show that this is something that I'm going to need to take action on. When that task is completed, I'll just cross it out with an X. A good example of this is, let's say I'm going throughout my day and I know I need to set up a dentist appointment. I'll use a bullet point and then I'll say, call and set up a dentist appointment. Once I've completed that task, I can cross it out. But then we come to kind of the caret over the bullet signifier, and that's what we use for a task or a to-do that we migrate. So let's say I thought throughout the day and I made a bullet point, I need to contact the dentist to set up an appointment. And then I come home from work and I have to make dinner and I have to work on a presentation and answer some emails. And I get to 7 p.m. and I realize that the dentist office is closed for the day. So I will not be able to complete that task on that day. What I can do is I can migrate that task to a day further in the week, or I can schedule for later in the month. And what I'm basically doing is prioritizing that task at a time when I know I will have time and when the doctor's office is open. I use that kind of caret, I guess you can say, arrow over the bullet point to say, all right, this was a to-do item today. You haven't been able to do it, but you have made it a priority at a later time. Some other fun bullets that we have are an asterisk to mark anything important. I also use a heart if there's anything positive or it's a good memory. This is always fun when I'm going back through my bullet journals to see anything good that happened that day or that week. But on the flip side, I use the delta triangle for any, negative moment or maybe something to change. And this is a really important bullet for me to have for kind of two reasons. One, it allows me when I'm going back through my journal to see if, maybe there was a negative feeling or a negative situation that I found myself in. It allows me to think, hey, is there a person, place, or thing I need to avoid next time so I don't have, these negative experiences again? Or is it something that, this was negative and I want to talk to somebody about this? Is this something that I want to bring, to my next therapy session and talk through? I also use the delta sign if, again, sometimes I use my bullet journal as just a journal. I have some heavy feelings or some thoughts and I need to get them out on paper. Once I've gotten them out on paper, I can reflect on them, I can process, and I can heal from it. So this bullet kind of signifies if I'm going back through my journals at a later date, maybe I don't need to reread that paragraph. Maybe I don't need to relive those heavy emotions. I can just skip that and move on to the next, positive or good memory I have written down. I will use a dash as a note. So if I'm just journaling about whatever may happen, I'll use a dash before the next, every paragraph. And if something is no longer relevant, then I can just cross it out completely. You can also get pretty creative with your bullet ideas. So here's some other ones that I've used before. A question mark if I need to research something later. So if I have a word that I need to know the definition for, or somebody mentions a current event that I'm not up to speed on, I can use the question mark, and that's a notification that when I go back later, I can research it. I'll use an exclamation point if something is top priority, if it's a top priority event or task. And I can also use a star if something is important. I will also say I'm a big, and you'll see from some of my examples, big sports fan. So I use a 76 with a circle for if there's a Sixers game that night. So instead of writing out there's a Sixers game tonight at 7, I can just use this little icon and I know that there's a game. You can also use this if you have children or you have a kid event. You could just put a K with a circle. And then I know that some people use bullet journaling for meal tracking. So instead of writing out, for breakfast, I had toast and eggs, you can just put a B in a circle and then write toast and eggs. So it saves some time and you already know exactly what you're referencing in your notebook. You can get pretty creative. You can go online and find some other bullets and signifiers as you see fit. All right, so we are going to be talking about the daily log next, which really serves as your catch-all for rapid logging and journaling your thoughts throughout the day. And this is using the bullets that we just discussed. So you use those bullets on your daily log, but you can also apply them to your weekly, monthly, and future log as well. So to start your daily log, you'll turn to the next blank page. You'll put the date at the top of the page and you'll start your rapid logging. You can start off your day with any goals or appointments you may have, but I really like to start off my daily log with one thing that I'm grateful for. It just gets my day off started on a positive note. And as I go through my day, I'll list any additional to-do tasks or notes or memories so I can reflect at the end of my day. So for Friday, May 5th, I was grateful for the beautiful weather. One event that I had was I was going to a lunch picnic with my friends at 12 p.m. And some of the to-dos that I had to make for that event was to actually pick up lunch and then pack my picnic blanket. I also remembered that it was the last day to pay rent for the month. And then I had a question about when the next Sixers playoff game would be. So as I was going throughout my day, as you can see, this page kind of evolved. So I was able to check off, yes, I went to lunch with my friends. I did pick up lunch and I made a note there that I had a Subway sandwich. I was able to pack a picnic blanket and pay my rent. At the later time when I found out when the next Sixers playoff game was, it was that night at 7 p.m. And then a memory was that I had a lovely picnic with the ladies. We took some selfies and we are going to plan another picnic for next week. One negative thing that happened was it did start raining on us for 5 minutes, but it cleared up pretty quickly. And one of my action items based on that picnic was to schedule the picnic for the following week. A little note that I had was that I did wake up today excited and energized, but in the afternoon I got really tired. So I'm going to try to go to bed early tonight so I can because I'm going to have a really busy day tomorrow. And when I wrote that note, it made me think about all the action items that I needed to complete in order to successfully have a busy day the next day. So using the bullets, I can just add in, for tomorrow, I have to decorate a cake. I have to pack up my gifts and I have to stop for gas on the way to a birthday party that I have scheduled. So that is just an example of your daily log. All right, so we have talked through our future log, our monthly log, our weekly and daily logs, and the bullets. So now we're going to come into custom collections, which is really the building blocks of bullet journaling. It allows us to store related content. So this is kind of where our catch-all comes. And we can get really fun and creative with this. So I'll show you some examples of custom collections that I've used throughout the years. First, I have my book tracker, which I think if you turn your head and squint, I was going for kind of an open book, but this had a list of all of the books that I currently had available on Audible. I also used a custom collection to pack for a Florida trip. So I listed out all the items that I knew I was going to need to pack with a bullet. And then when I was actually going through and packing them into my suitcase, I checked them off to make sure that I didn't forget anything. Another one of my favorite collections is an important dates and calendar. So I don't know about anybody else, but I have a horrible memory, especially when it comes to dates and anniversaries of my loved ones. So on these two pages, I added a column for every month of the year. And then on the left-hand side, I numbered each line 1 through 31. So as I'm going through and I'm thinking about my loved ones and their birthdays and anniversaries, maybe I'm cheating and using Facebook, I add their name to the corresponding month and the day of the month that they may have a birthday, or two people may share their wedding anniversary. And so it allows me for just one place in my notebook where everything is listed. And when I go to set up my monthly log, I can turn to this page and I can see, all right, who has birthdays in May? I'll identify those and put them into my monthly log so I can start to plan around possible birthday dinners or gifts that I need to get them. Speaking of gifts, one of the things, again, I do not have the best memory. And so I have a gift ideas collection. As I'm talking to people, over weeks or months, they may mention something that they would really like to receive as a gift. So I'll use my dad as an example here. He loves golf. And so he mentioned that he wanted a golf club for his for an upcoming gift giving holiday. So I made a bullet that, under dad, he would like golf clubs. And then he was able to give me a little bit more information. So he wants a driver golf club. I guess that's the type of golf club there is. And he needs one that is left-handed. So I can put this in this collection and I don't have to continuously remember it, waste mental energy of trying to remember. And when it comes time for, his birthday, I can refer to this collection and I can say, oh, yeah, I know exactly what to get him. Some of the other collections that I have done are housework. Gets very, overwhelming and stressful. So instead of just having a long list of everything that needs to happen in my house, I broke down my rooms into individual squares and what chores I needed to do for each of those rooms, which just made it a little bit more manageable. I've used collections to track, if anybody's an online shopper, you have a lot of packages coming to you at once. So I listed the shop name, when I got a notification that it was sent and about the time that I can expect to receive it. And then I put the date that I did indeed receive it, just to make sure nothing got lost in the mail. This is a fun collection I did. I'm a big fan of the TV show Friends, and I was looking for kind of a monthly challenge to make sure I was using my journal every day. So every day for a month, I picked a character from Friends, and then I would write one of my favorite quotes that they said. This just got me into the practice of every day, I know I need to pick a character, go to my journal and write this quote. And at the end of the month, I kind of developed that habit now of picking up the notebook every day. And I came up with this, cool spread that had quotes from my favorite characters. And last but not least, my partner and I are big Marvel fans. So I built a collection that had all of the Marvel movies and TV shows in chronological order. So those are some of my fun collections. And next we're going to get into trackers, which is a very common type of custom collection that you can track habits or tasks over time. We can't always rely on our memories, and trackers are a great place that we can objectively monitor progress throughout the month or the year. These really help take these larger goals and deconstruct them into, smaller bite-sized steps and make potentially intimidating endeavors more manageable and honest with ourselves. So the top tracker is a single goal that I had for the year. So I wanted to see how much I was reading during the year. So it's one goal, and as you can see at the top, I have a number for every day of the month, and then on the left-hand side, I added a line for each month throughout the year. So as I'm going through my day, I can just cross off if I did read that day, or I'll put a dash if I didn't read that day. As you can see here, as I got to the end of April, I realized, I didn't read as much as I wanted to that month. And so that just gave me motivation to start May and make more of a effort to prioritize reading. Another type of tracker is a monthly tracker. So that allows you to track multiple habits and goals within 1 month. So we still have the days of the month across the top of the page, but then instead of the months on the left-hand side, those are a whole bunch of habits that I would like to accomplish or tasks. You'll see here, and for anybody who is working maybe that hybrid schedule, so some days you work from home, other days you go into the office. This was just an easy way for me to track what I was doing on which day. I will also say that I find trackers really helpful when it comes to what we would call self-care tasks. When we're suffering from depression, anxiety, PTSD, personal hygiene such as showering, drinking water, self care is usually one of the first things that are impacted. So, a tracker, which is, of course, your own personal tracker just for yourself, keeps you accountable and also sees how you're doing throughout the month. This is information that you can take, to reach out to friends or a therapist with and really just see, how you're doing. One of the things I also like about a monthly tracker is that it allows you to see, did something happen on a singular day that's going to impact the rest of my habits? So as you can see here from March 15th and 19th, I went on vacation. So I was neither working from home or going to the office. So I just crossed that out. And because I was on vacation, that impacted my tracker of cooking at home and ordering food since we were going to restaurants every night on vacation. There are also some additional trackers that I have done previously. So again, big Sixers fan. I tracked all of our Sixers games that we went to with our season tickets. So the date of the game and who they played against, if they won or lost, the score, if we went and if we didn't go, how much we sold the tickets for. I've also tracked movie titles, so the name of the movie, the year the movie was released, the day that I watched it, and then which streaming service that we watched it off of. I know this seems like a lot of movies in a short period of time, but this was a tracker from 2020, and there was not much else to do during that time. Some of the other trackers that I've done is a TV tracker. So I'll list the name of the TV show and I have a box for each episode in that season. And when I watch that episode, I can cross it off. And then finally, one of my more fun trackers that I did, my family and I play Wordle every day. So I had a Wordle tracker for the month with the day of the month and then what the ultimate Wordle word was, how many tries it took me to get, and then all of the other words that I had tried getting to that Wordle word. This was particularly fun to come back because then I could see other 5-letter words that maybe I thought of a couple days ago but couldn't think of now, and I could reference this page. All right, so we have gone through kind of the planner section of our bullet journals with our monthly, weekly logs, the actual bullets, and then all the customized collections and trackers that we can use. So it's time to come back to our index. Our index is used to locate content in our bullet journals using topics and those page numbers that I mentioned before. And again, this is usually the first 2 or 4 pages of your notebook. This makes it really easy to locate your content, especially as you get further into, using more pages. So basically for your index, what you'll do is, you'll start with the first, collection. If it's a future log, at the top, you'll write index, and then the first line is going to be the first collection that you put into your notebook. And then you can add the pages that correspond to that topic. So you can kind of see here on the right-hand side, that's an index that, the notebook didn't have its own built-in index page. It just had a blank page, so we created it into the index. I also do want to mention that the index is great because your content and your collections don't need to be consecutive in your bullet journals. For this example, we used pages 25 to 29 for drawings. And then when we got to the end of page 29, we ran out of space. So we just flipped to the next blank page, which was page 32, and then added that page number onto our index. And then the next page we used was 36. So we added that into our index. That allows us to, when we're looking at our index, see every single page that has that collection or that topic and makes it easy to identify. But there are also some other ways that you can index. Let me see if this pops through. Sorry. Oops. Sorry, my computer is just processing a little bit. So there are some other index options that you can use either in addition to or instead of just having that normalized index. One of the things that I have found recently is washi dots. That is, there are stickers. I got these off of Amazon. Again, you don't need to use them, but they're colorful stickers. There's a lot of them. And what I will do instead of listing page numbers is I will select a particular color and I'll put that dot next to the topic on my index. And then I fold the other half of that dot over the edge of the page. And when I go to the actual collection, I take that same color washi dot and I fold it over in the same location on that edge. So as you can see, when I turn my journal to the side, now I'm able to see which pages belong to which topics, and it's pretty and color coded. You can also use Post-it tabs, so I can quickly flip to certain pages. And using the Post-it tabs, you can kind of remove them or change them as needed, their location on the page. I find the tabs are really helpful for like my monthly page if I know I'm going to be referring to it a lot over the month, to just stick it on and I can easily open up my notebook to that spot. My computer's a little tired, sorry. All right, so then we will get into our reflections and migration. These are two things that are very important to the bullet journal method. Your reflection is a dedicated time during your day, your week, and or your month to review kind of what you've written, what you've planned. If you are doing a daily reflection, their AM reflection is maybe a time to plan for what the day has in store for you. And then the PM reflection is a time for you to review what happened throughout your day. I will say for myself, I am a nervous before bed worrier. So I'll do my PM reflection, which is where I review my day. And then I will start to plan the following day so that I don't have to constantly think about all the things that I need to do for the following day. I know that I've already planned for them in my bullet journal. You can do the same thing every week or every month, is really just say, okay, what has happened? And then what do I need to plan for? I know we briefly mentioned migration a couple of times throughout this session, but that's really the process of taking something from maybe another collection or from the day and moving it to a certain day because you're either going to focus on it or you can just decide that it's no longer relevant to you. So if you have a goal and you're trying to track something and then you get to the end of the month and you realize, I actually didn't do anything for that goal. You can either migrate it or you can just decide, maybe now is not the right time for me to take on that goal. Either way, reflections and migration allow you to have some mental inventory and check in with yourself. You're allowed to ask, how are you feeling? How are you doing with your goals? And is there anything that you need to prioritize? So let's talk about our best practices. So for notebooks, find the one that works for you. If you are constantly on the go and you have a small purse, you may want a smaller notebook. If you are somebody who commutes on the train, you may want to find like a hardback notebook so that you don't need like a table. You can just open it up on your lap and use your bullet journal throughout the day. When you're starting either a new notebook or if this is the first time that you're bullet journaling, use Post-its, use pencils, use a blank sheet of paper to kind of see, what collections, what things would you like to track. You can kind of plan it out before you put your writing utensil to your actual notebook. I will say also, give yourself grace. Mistakes are part of the process. If you mess up on a line or some spread just doesn't work out the way that it wants to, you don't have to use that page. You can restart if you want to. You can work through it. If one month doesn't show up the way that you want it to, you can do better the next month. And just make sure to reflect monthly and to improve and iterate your system moving forward. I know Ryder Carroll, who created this method, he spent years on working on a method that worked for him before he even started sharing it broadly. And as the bullet journal method has gotten more popular and people have really started to personalize and customize their own topics and collections that they do for bullet journaling, I know that Ryder's also adopted some of those as well. All right, so going beyond today's program. So I know we went over a lot of information today, but truly we just scratched the surface of really everything that the bullet journal method can be in your life and just in general. So I would recommend, borrowing the bullet journal method from your local library branch. This has a lot of great information, whether you're brand new to bullet journaling or you're a seasoned pro but you want to learn a little bit more about maybe the intentions or mindfulness. Bullet Journal also has a YouTube channel, so you can log into that YouTube channel and see some short form videos and tutorials. There's also an official Bullet Journal website that you can go in for some helpful tips and sign up for the newsletter, which can be emailed to you. And then going on to Pinterest or Instagram to look for bullet journal inspiration, you can use the tags #bullet journal or #bojo, #bullet journaling. There's a lot of hashtags out there, but those are some of the main 3 that you can use. I will just reiterate once again, the only perfect bullet journal is one that works for you. So if you're going online to look for inspiration, just know you're looking for inspiration maybe for how you want to set up or apply a certain method to your notebook, but in no means, please don't let it be something that intimidates you. All right, so that is what we have for our program today, and it looks like we do have a little over 10 minutes to answer some questions. So, Kathleen, I'll ask you, do we have any questions that came in through the chat during the program?
Hi, Abigail. No, we don't have any questions yet from your audience. I just want to say thank you so much for that presentation. It's amazing that you can have such a wide variety of information all in one location. I mean, the wide range and variety is pretty impressive. I wanted to ask, you said that you like to work on your journal in the evenings.
Mhm.
Are you pretty consistent with an evening? Is it every night for you, or if you don't mind me asking, or is it most nights? Or
Yeah, I would say it is almost every night.
Mhm.
Even if it's just 5 to 10 minutes, it's right by my nightstand. Um, just to kind of summarize the day, make sure I didn't miss anything important, and just make sure I'm kind of ready to go for the next day. Of course, the evenings, if you have events, if you go out to a movie or concerts, right, that might be a day that I skip an evening reflection. But definitely something that I try to implement every day.
Okay, we have a couple of questions coming in. Um, from Kate, is there a particular aspect of bullet journaling that you find the most effective or helpful?
That is a great question. I would say I love the trackers, and just because, my memory is not great, and I can certainly justify and lie to myself sometimes. I'm like, no, I just went to the gym, and then I look at my tracker, and I'm like, nope, it's been 4 days. But also, the journaling, especially getting prepared for this program, it was so cool to be able to go back through 8 years of journals and see, how far I've come, both from designing the bullet journal and just who I was as a person.
Quinn asks, do you keep your bullet journal with you all day or leave it at home?
So I personally keep it with me all day. I always want to be able to jot down a note or, access it. I will say that there are some times, like if I'm going to events, I won't be able to bring my bullet journal. And in that instance, I'll just use like the notes on my app so I don't forget what I want to write down. And then I'll transfer it over to my bullet journal during nightly reflection.
From Terry, we have, thank you for all the wonderful examples. From Karen, do you have a lot of different journals? It seemed like you had a lot of material, so it seemed overwhelming, or is it all in 1 or 2 journals?
So I, as a practice, try to have one journal for any like period of time. So if I have a journal from, January to May of the year, everything is going to be in that one journal. Because I journal a lot, I do go through a significant amount of journals throughout the year. So I do have many within a year, but at one time I'm only using the one journal.
Yeah, I think I'd heard that was part of the reason, right? That the part of
Mhm.
the purpose is to not have a shopping list here and a gift list there and a, you know,
Exactly.
appointments in someplace else.
I will
Um,
say, I saw a quick chat come up, and this might be the next question, Kathleen. I'm sorry, about using a bullet journal for work.
mhm,
And
yep.
so I will say that the only time that I have had multiple notebooks is when I'm using one for work and one for, basically my life. That for me personally, I still apply the bullet journal method to a work journal. But for my own peace of mind and work life balance, I needed to be able to kind of pause and leave work in the office, so to speak. And so I had a separate journal for that I could work through. And then I had kind of my life bullet journal.
Okay. Um, and then this is a question I had too. Judy asks, I'm wondering how much time roughly would you say you invest in the bullet journaling? It's a very individual thing. Um, but I'm the type of person, she writes, who could easily spend more time journaling than getting the tasks done. Yes.
Yes, that can sometimes happen. Um, I would say on these, you know, on the migration, or especially when you first set up a journal, you may be taking a little bit longer than you normally would on a day-to-day basis, just to make sure that you've set up, your trackers or your collections. I always try to leave a couple of hours on like the last Sunday of a month so that I can start, my new month, my new tracker. It's just kind of like me time. I set a couple hours away. I lock myself in my office because I know I'm going to get into it. Um, but I will say, especially from, bullet journaling, if you're using it and you're journaling about your thoughts, there is no time limit to that. Get those thoughts out, start writing. When it comes to tasks, I think for me, it's helped for if I have tasks that I haven't completed and I use that migrate icon, there's only so many times that you can migrate something before you're like, I just need to get it done. So that helps with motivation sometimes too.
I can see that. Um, Pat asks, are there special trackers such as packing clothes for a trip tracked right after the month? Oh, I'm sorry if I don't understand this. Are the special trackers such as packing clothes for a trip tracked right after the month of the trip? Um,
Oh, I think I
you
understand.
understand it?
So
Hmm.
I think it's saying that, if you set up your month and then do you have to set up your month before you create a collection for the packing list that you're going to have? Honestly, for me, anytime that I know I have a trip coming up, it doesn't matter if it's next month or 2 months in advance, I'm going to flip to my next page and start listing things that I'm going to want to pack for that. It doesn't have to be after the month or before the month of the trip. As long as I know that it's on a
Oh, I
certain
see.
page, I put that page in my index. Even if I start that packing list in March and my vacation isn't until July, when it does come time for July, I can just refer back to that section using my index for my packing information.
Right. So you're saying like a category is more important than the chronology. And as
Correct.
long as
Yep.
you're putting it on the index, you'll find it.
Absolutely.
Um, Nicole said she had trouble logging on and missed the beginning. And she loves the idea and really wants to try it. She asks, where do I begin? And I think your very first slide, well, I don't know if it was the first slide, but your first photo with the only two things that you really need. It's a
Yes.
notebook, is a
Yes.
notebook and a pen or a writing utensil of some kind. But also Nicole and anyone else who's asking who maybe not didn't come in at the beginning, this webinar is recorded and will be found on our YouTube channel, our Mercer County YouTube channel, so you can see the whole thing from the beginning. Let's see if there are any other questions that have come in. Oh, Thank you, Laura. has the link to the YouTube channel. And okay, and there's some thank yous there. And since Abigail did such a good job, and I'm going to reveal that she is in fact my daughter, and I'm so impressed with all the work that you've done for this presentation. And now I know why you come across as so organized.
Yeah, I try. Yes, and thank you, Librarian Kathleen, aka Mom. And I just want to thank everyone so much, just from me for joining and being interested in bullet journaling. As I said, this is a passion, so being able to present this to you tonight is super fun for me. I also want to thank Kathleen for all the adult programming, Mercer Counter Libraries, and also thank you, Laura, for all the IT support that you provided for us today.
Okay. All right. I have a lot of thank yous. This was great. And all right, Abigail, thank you very much. And I wish everyone a very nice evening.
Thanks,
Take care.